Right, what we've got here is a 2020 iMac 27. Going to go through a couple of upgrade options and, of course, repairing it. Now, log it in. Just created an account called Test. And what I'm going to do as far as setting a benchmark is I'm going to be connected to the internet with an Ethernet, which I've got here, nice yellow cable. So anything internet based will be coming over Ethernet, and this is an i5 and it has got 8 gig of RAM. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up later. I'm going to skip that, agree with the terms and conditions. I don't worry about that. We're in the United Kingdom somewhere. We're going to do a bench test on the GPU and the CPU with it in its original configuration. Then we're going to upgrade the RAM in it to, I think, 32 gig I brought for it. And following that, we're then going to do what a lot of people on the internet are saying is impossible, and we're going to put an i9 in it. We're also going to be replacing this screen. So there's quite a few jobs that have got to be done. And we're going to go for Cinebench. We're going to go for I know what I want. I want your Run Geekbench. Buttons are in a different place on this keyboard. We're going to run Heaven. So we download that for OS X. And let's download that as well. Now, in this poor configuration at the moment, which has got 8 gig of RAM on a 3.36 core, let's see what the internet's like as far as the speed is concerned. I honestly expect it just to blat it. Yeah, that's the connection, 500 meg. So internet speed wise, we haven't got any issues, so we won't do any further on that. We'll run these couple of bench tests. Okay, so there's the Geekbench scores. 1622 single, 5934 for multi-core. Let's run that. And off it goes. I'll take a photo of that. Let's go to run it a second time, but there we go. It's benchmarking quite nice. And finally, we'll run Unique Heaven. This is going to run at 5K because that's what these machines are. run benchmark. Okay, so there's our benchmark score. Minimum frames is 14, maximum 137. So let's quit that and shut it up. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to do the easiest job, the one that pretty much anybody can do. We're going to upgrade it from 8 gig of RAM up to 32, and then see what difference that has to the scores. So one of the clever things with these is you can't get to the memory when the machine's on, because you have to press that button there, and that's hidden by the power cable. I'm just going to clip these out of here and withdraw the memory. As I say, this is a job that can be done quite easily. This 32 gig of RAM was 40 quid off eBay. So not ultra expensive or anything like that. You've just got to make sure when you put it in, you push it in all the way firmly. It goes in, then they go back in like that. Clip, clip. Cover back goes back on, and then we put it back the right way around. Now, the one thing that always freaks me out when you do memory on these is when you press the power button, it takes ages for them to start the first time you change the memory. I think it's doing some sort of memory test in the background. So now we have 32 gig of RAM. Run Geekbench first and see how we do. Previously we had 1622 and 5934. So interestingly, increasing the memory has increased the score. That's quite interesting. It's a result I half expected to see, but wasn't 100% sure that I would see. So let's see what Cinebench does. So previously we had 9235. Not sure why it's deciding it wants to run again. (9238). So absolutely really no difference. Let's see what we get as a benchmark. The previous score was 1238. About that for MAD, it's gone down slightly. It's basically the same. So as I found out previously, because that it seems to just be a GPU test, increasing the RAM hasn't increased the score on it. So it's quite interesting. The next thing we'll do with this is open it up, take the screen off it, and then we'll get into it, fit the i9, run some tests again, and we will replace the monitor, replace the screen with a new screen, because obviously this one's destroyed. Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to go through and we're going to replace the processor on this 2020 iMac 27, and we will put a new screen on when we put it back together. So we're going to take the i5 out of it and put an i9 in, which on the internet there's quite a lot of naysayers saying it can't be done because of the T2 chip. I don't know whether that's possible or not, but it's going to be interesting finding out. First thing we've got to do with this is use one of these across the top and around the sides to actually cut away the tape. I tend to find starting at the corner is my best bet. You can see on this display this one is obliterated. And you've literally just got to get this, work it backwards and forwards all the way around the screen. This one's going to be a little bit difficult, I think, because of the damage on it. Just take your time. And it opens up. Down inside here there is 3 connectors. This one has 3 on it because the webcam is mounted on the actual glass. So 2 of them we've got to pick our fingers behind or use a tool and then disconnect. We can then lower down the display and continue dismantling it. Final thing we're going to do is get these tags at the sides here and give them a pull. That will untape the bottom of the screen, mostly. It never actually seems to work like it's planned to. Get a Stanley knife and just run a blade across the bottom. Now, the reason that you can't use a blade to take these apart and you have to use the special Apple tool is if you try and use a blade, what happens is you'll actually cut the ribbon cables around the edge of the display and screw the display up. Ask me how I know. It was an expensive mistake. That's how I know. So, here we have the inside of a 2020 iMac. So this is the last of the Intel iMacs that were ever made. After this, they went over to them being Apple silicon powered. It's got onboard storage, 512 gigabytes here, rather than a detachable drive. It's got the Apple T2 chip on it. And because of the T2 chip, the naysayers on the internet are saying that you can't upgrade the CPU. I don't know whether that's true or not. We're going to find out. So we're either going to stop this Mac working, or we're going to change it from an i5 to a nice shiny i9. And if it works, then all you people out there in internet land will have a video that shows the naysayers that it does actually work. Now, I'm just looking around this, and generally the assembly and the way that this is put together seems to be pretty much the same as the early ones, apart from obviously there's no hard drive caddy here. There's no studs for the hard drive caddy, and that of course is because this hasn't got a SATA connection on it and hasn't got an NVMe connection on it. I'm going to take the speaker out of here, and I think I might take this. Yeah, I'm going to take the speakers out just to give us a bit more clearance, and it will allow me to clean the machine. I'm also going to remove the power supply, again, same sort of reasons. Then we'll take the fan out, and then we'll take the logic board out. This is a T10 I'm using here. So I've took 2 of them at the speaker. And I'm hoping everything works the same as previous models. There we go, look. Free that up. Let's have a look at these speakers. Put that out of the way. Unplug this. Come around the other side here, and we'll do the same. We'll take the speaker out. There's probably someone out there going, you don't need to do that, but hey ho. Now, the big thing that I've noticed difference with these is the webcam is not attached to the back. It is attached to the screen. Okay, put them out of the way. Next up is the power supply. Unplug this cable. It's stuck on. It doesn't matter which of the two ends you disconnect it from, as long as you disconnect it from one end or the other. And just twist it out of the way like that. Now, the big thing you've got to be aware of with these power packs is these things will bite you. There's a capacitor on here where in Europe 240 volts AC is rectified and made into DC, and that gives you quite a lot of DC voltage. I think it's something like 380 volts once it's been rectified across a capacitor, and you just don't want to get your fingers on that. That will put you in hospital if you're lucky. The best thing you can do to protect yourself against it is leave the iMac unplugged for a good hour before you start working on it, and give the power button a press a couple of times as well before you leave it, and it will discharge the power supply because the 5-volt standby, or whatever it is voltage wise on one of these, will use up the stored energy. But they do have a nasty bite in their tail. I suppose even in the States, Canada, etc., at 120, 130 volts, it's still not going to make your day if you go and touch the live. Those capacitors, look, 450 volt storage. So on these terminals here, you can have somewhere around 400 volts, 380 volts when the machine is plugged in, and for a period of time after. So you don't want to come a cropper to that. Next up, we'll take the fan out. From what I can see initially, the fan is exactly the same looking as every other iMac. Again, why would Apple change something that works? There goes one screw. Okay, 3 screws removed. Gently pull that towards you and plug it. I truthfully think that's exactly the same. I'll check some part numbers. Two screws here. Every screw I've took out so far has been the same size. Through here, there's a captive screw. Hear that? That's the crap tip screw. Now there's one more fixing here that we need to take out that's different to everything else. What was that? That was a T20. Right, we've got to take out this connector here and the Wi-Fi connections. This one, we're just going to pull it gently. The Wi-Fi connections, we want a tiny little screwdriver. I don't know what size this is, I'm sorry. It's one that's just come with a kit at some point in time. I think it was a MacBook battery changing kit that it came with. So I'm guessing, oh yeah, that's going to lift off there, and then these are going to lift off nice and easy. No difficulty to them. Now, you could use a spudger tool if you wanted to. So there's one here that's out to trick you. See, just here, it's almost impossible to spot. There's a little tiny clip on the back of it, and then you just ultra gently disconnect it. Come on, there we go, like that. See it there? But the last thing we're going to do now, we've disconnected all the cables, is go around and remove the remainder of the screws carefully. It amazes me actually how tight these are, considering the actual screw that they are. Yeah, that one took a lot to undo it. So there we go. This, of course, is the last of the 27-inch iMacs, because they are only producing 24-inch at the moment. There's some sort of stud behind here that's catching me, so I think I need to sort of rotate. There we go. I was getting caught on that there. I'm going to put this to one side, and I'm going to reposition the camera and come back to you. So let's take a look at this. This is the 27-inch iMac 2020 10th generation motherboard. No NVMe connection there, no SATA connection there. I do find it amusing how they're still available and they're still on the board. So CPU here, GPU here. So I'm going to start. Just take these silly little stickers off that say Warranty void if removed. Well, it's 5 years old. I doubt it's still under warranty. We're going for a T15 by the looks of it. Nope. So it doesn't appear to be a 15, it doesn't appear to be a 10. Thank you, Apple. Okay, that's an oddball size that's in a random kit that I've got. Now, I'm hoping the CPU is socketed. And B, hoping it's a socket that holds it in place. Now, before I get any anti-static comments, I have a anti-static band on my ankle, and the top of this table is conductive because this is an electronic workbench that I'm sat at. Thank you. I'm just going to put them to one side. I'm going to leave that in place, and I'm going to do exactly the same here. So they're smaller, they're this size. Realistically, they're not very tight. I've got my finger on the other side because that is it's got like a crosshead on it. We have the AMD graphics processor under here. Sounds like I've got a small animal running around in here scraping at things, which is not good. Okay, so that's those off. That metal trim has come free. That one hasn't. Let's put this back the right way round. Oh, there we go. It has just released its goodness. Okay, we're socketed, but the CPU is not held in place. So give me a minute. I'm just going to find some alternative tools to release that. Now, as silly as it sounds in some ways, the first thing I'm going to do is put the i9 processor in here. This is a 10910. Now, the reason I'm putting that straight in place is it will protect my socket. So there's nothing can fall onto that, etc. So I've now got to get this out of here, which appears to be quite well gunked in place. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Very dry heatsink compound. not really surprising. So I'm going to give this a clean and this a clean. I'm going to leave those pads alone. We'll give this a clean, give the top of the graphics processor a clean, put some clean heatsink compound on it, and reverse the procedure. I'm not going to get you watching that, I'll do that now. A bit of cleaning later. Let's just put, for the sake of it, I'll put an extra little gob on then. I'm not going to mess with them because they're on pads. Processor's in nicely. So let's put the CPU cooler back in place now. I've got to grab this from behind and make sure that the thing with the pins on doesn't fall out. And it's just a case of lining everything up. Honestly and truthfully, don't go back together too badly. Even though I'm throwing parts away and screws away. So at this point, what I want to achieve is a couple of screws in on opposite corners. I'm not looking for them to be ultra tight. I just want a grab. Like that. Now that way, that's not going to run off. And I can do the same here. So put two options in. Now I'm going to look down. I'm going to make sure in here that there's no gaps around the processor on either end, because gaps would indicate that the processor wasn't seated. At least we haven't had to delid the processor. That's in. Little fiddly, I will say, but it's possible with a bit of patience. So I'm going to get the case back now and we'll start and put this back together and get it up and running. I'm going to test it with the damaged screen and then we'll sort the screen out. Got two cables here that we've got to make sure that we don't lose when this goes back in. And of course we've got that same sort of routing issue here that we had when we took it out, as far as, come on, lining up. Well, I was honestly expecting that to be a lot more of a fight. That just went in cooperatively. So I'm going to put a couple of screws in loose to start off with. I'm going for the shallow screws for easiness. a longer one there. A really long one there. Another long one up here. Okay, now I'm going to do something that I would suggest that you do at this point. And I'm just going to plug into the two ends of the USB ports, two USB devices. That way then we know that the USBs are lined up. Okay. And that one. And that one. Okay, cool. This goes back on here. I think it was this one here. We need to get one of these through here and tighten up this one here. That's back inside here. This can be sometimes a little bit awkward, as that one's decided to be. Two at the top. They're going to go in here, and at this stage what I don't want to do is drop them, because if I drop these I'm taking the machine back apart to retrieve them, and that's why I haven't actually connected any of the cables up. Because I've dropped these screws more than once. This one here is quite easy. Line it up, give it a squeeze with your thumb. This one here requires me to change my glasses. You've just got to line it up underneath and lift it up into place. Like that, you see, and then push that in, and that's it. That's actually plugged in. Doesn't take much pressure, but it's very delicate. This one here, just gently, just be gentle and firm with it. So we've got these fixings. So this one wants to go here. Let's see how difficult these are to connect up. Much improved on the earlier model because they've just clicked in very, very cooperatively. Line them up, press them with your thumb or a tool, your choice. Use a spludger, use your thumb, use a tool, your choice. Two screws and a screwdriver and a little cover. I will say one thing for this, as far as the assembling, the build quality, it is very well assembled. You know, little things like this that stop connectors coming undone you know, I'll give them 10 out of 10 every single time. There we go. What we're doing next, we're going to put a fan in. Now, I'm going to take a photo of that because I want to know if it's the same as the earlier iMacs. Guide it in. Pay attention. Plug it in. You can't connect it in if you're looking at other things. So, what screws we're using? They're four the same speaker screws, they're the power supply screws, these are the fan screws. Here's the fan screws in. Okay. We have a power supply, and I'm actually going to put, at this point, one of the speakers back in. I'm not going to worry too much about screwing it in. I'm connecting this up and putting this in for a single reason, and that is that when we test it in a minute, I want to hear a dong. If I don't hear a dong, I know I've got a problem. Power supplies next. 2 plugs, one there. 300 watt power supply, again the same as every other iMac I've ever took apart. I don't know if the little ones have got the same power supplies, like the, you know, the 22s. There we go. Line that up. Long screw there. Long screw at the top on the other side. I'm not tightening these up yet. 2 short screws, one there and one there. Plug that in, otherwise it'll never come on. So there we go, back together. I'm going to plug the screen in for the purpose of testing, and then we'll turn it on and check it works. Moment of truth. Press the power button. Ooh, 30 seconds of holding your breath. But I knew in my heart of heart, because I changed the processor, that first boot, the first power on safe test, etc., was going to take longer because it's verifying stuff. Put the password in. I seem to think the time and date's wrong, but there we go. What we got? i9 10 core. I'm just going to plug Ethernet into the back of this. Right, so we've got the screen replaced on this. there's another video showing how we did that. And here we go. So the single score has processor performance has come up from 1653 to 1692, and the multi-core has come up from 7101 to 9020. So that's a good jump. It's going to be interesting to see how it handles itself in Premiere, etc. This video that you're watching will be edited on this machine. Okay, we're going to run the multi-core on this and see what we get. I'll come back to you in a moment when it's done. Okay, so there we go. That's run Cinebench. We had a score previously of 9238, and that's now brought us up to a score of 14034. So that's bumped that up quite nicely. And finally, we'll run Unique Heaven. Here we go then. So this is now running. It's going to run through this and give us a score at the end of it. I'll come back when it's done. And here we go. Nicely running Creative Suite without any issues. And the video you're watching is being edited on this machine as we speak. So thank you for watching. Have a look at some of the other videos I've done and subscribe, hit the like, etc. Thank you.